Scorpio, I'm going to tell you something people will never admit to your face. When you enter a room, everyone feels it. It's not subtle. It's not your imagination. It's a real change in the energy of the place, as if the temperature has changed or the air has become denser, and people react to it in ways they themselves can't fully explain. Some feel instantly drawn in. Others become inexplicably defensive. Some want to get closer. Others feel like leaving, but no one is indifferent. You've probably noticed this before, but maybe you thought you were being paranoid or reading too much into situations. You weren't. What I'm about to reveal in the next few minutes will completely validate what you've always suspected. There's something about you that people pick up on immediately, long before you open your mouth or do anything. It's as if you carry such a specific and intense energy frequency that it acts like a radar, instantly detecting who is operating in truth and who is living in falsehood. And here's the most interesting part. People know it. Even if they can't put it into words, they feel that you see through them, that you perceive what's hidden, that you see beyond the social masks they wear so comfortably with everyone else. That's why the intense reaction. That's why the discomfort or the magnetic attraction. Because in your presence, people feel exposed, even when you're doing absolutely nothing more than existing in the same space as them. Have you ever wondered why superficial conversations die when you get closer and the talks automatically become deeper and more real? What I'm going to share goes beyond simply explaining this characteristic of yours. I'm going to reveal exactly what happens on an energetic level when you enter a place, what goes on in the minds and bodies of the people around you, and most importantly, how you can use this knowledge to stop feeling like there's something wrong with you and start recognizing this as the superpower that it truly is. Because the truth is, you've spent your whole life trying to become lighter, more approachable, easier to digest, when in reality your intensity is exactly what the world needs right now. Scorpio, let me ask you a question. How many times have you walked into a meeting, a party, a social gathering, and noticed that people instantly change their behavior? That conversation that was flowing normally suddenly becomes strange. That group that was laughing loudly lowers the volume. Those people who were relaxed suddenly become more alert, more self-aware. You probably interpreted this as people not liking you or as you being somehow disruptive. But the truth is completely different. What really happens is that your energy acts like a walking lie detector. When you enter a space, your mere presence forces people to confront their own falsehoods. That superficial conversation that was happening suddenly seems empty and meaningless. Those forced jokes are no longer funny. Those social masks begin to weigh you down, and people feel this viscerally, even without consciously understanding what is happening. For some people, especially those who live comfortably in superficiality, this is extremely uncomfortable. They prefer to avoid you rather than deal with the very depth you awaken in them. But for others, those who are tired of living a life of falsehood and are secretly searching for something real, your presence is like a breath of fresh air. It's permission to finally take off their masks and be authentic. And here's something that will completely change your perception of yourself. This isn't a flaw. It's not something you need to fix, smooth over, or hide. It's precisely your most important contribution to the world. On a planet where superficiality has become the norm and authenticity is a rarity, you are a force of nature that refuses to accept falsehood. Your presence alone challenges people to be real. Are you ready to stop apologizing for this and start fully embracing this power? Your mere presence in a space accelerates processes that would normally take much longer. Relationships that were stagnant suddenly have to evolve or end. Situations that were comfortably still suddenly demand movement. People who were avoiding facing their truths suddenly can no longer run away. And all this happens simply because you are present. Have you ever noticed how your life is full of intensity and drama, but the lives of the people around you also become more intense when you are nearby? Now I'm going to reveal something that few people understand, about this characteristic of yours. When people react strongly to you, whether with intense attraction or immediate rejection, they aren't really reacting to you. They're reacting to what you awaken in them. You function like a mirror that reflects back to people exactly what they've been avoiding looking at in themselves. And depending on what's being reflected, the reaction can be one of total fascination or extreme resistance. People who are magnetically drawn to you are those who are ready for transformation, even if they aren't consciously aware of it. Your energy calls them to something deeper, more real, more intense than they are used to. They feel you can guide them through emotional territories they are afraid to explore alone. That's why the attraction is so strong. It's almost as if they recognize in you a guide to inner places they need to visit. People who reject or avoid you are actually rejecting their own depth. They've built their entire lives on not feeling too much, not questioning too much, not diving too deep. And you, with your mere presence, threaten this carefully constructed structure. That's why the defensive reaction. It has nothing to do with who you are. It has everything to do with what they're not ready to face in themselves. The problem is that probably no one ever explained this to you. So you grew up thinking there was something wrong with you, that you were too much in some way, too intense, too deep, too complicated. And you may have tried to mold yourself to be more acceptable, lighter, easier to deal with. But every time you tried that, you felt like you were betraying your own essence, because you were. Scorpio, your intensity isn't a bug in the system. It's the most important resource you have. In a world desperately in need of more depth, more truth, more authenticity, you are exactly what's needed. Every time you enter a place and things become more real, you are fulfilling your purpose. Every time your presence forces people to confront their own truths, you are doing exactly what you came here to do. Can you imagine what the world would be like if everyone were as brave as you are to delve into the depths of human experience? What happens in practice when you arrive somewhere is fascinating from an energetic point of view. While most people emit a smooth, constant frequency, you emit pulses of intense energy. It's like the difference between a steady light and a laser. Ordinary light illuminates everything homogeneously, but the laser penetrates, cuts through, goes deep. Your energy is laser-like. When you enter a space, these energy pulses begin to interact with the energy fields of everyone else present. And here's what happens. If a person is aligned with their inner truth, their energy resonates harmoniously with yours. The person feels energized, awake, more alive. But if the person is living in falsehood, their energy creates a dissonance with yours. The person feels uncomfortable, restless, and wants to leave. That's why you've probably noticed that you attract two categories of people: those who are absolutely fascinated by you and those who avoid you at all costs. There's no middle ground. Because you don't allow for half measures, your energy leaves no room for indifference. Either people are willing to dive in deep or they aren't. And those who aren't will naturally drift away, while those who are will get closer and closer. This explains a lot about your relationships, doesn't it? Why your friendships tend to be either very deep or non-existent. Why you can't maintain superficial conversations for very long. Why the people around you either love you intensely or prefer to keep their distance. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're operating on a different frequency than most people, and only those who can tune into that frequency will be able to comfortably be close to you. But here's something crucial you need to understand. The fact that some people can't handle your intensity doesn't mean you should become less intense. It just means those people aren't yours. They're not part of your tribe. They're not the connections that will nurture you and help you grow. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you'll stop wasting energy trying to be accepted by people who will never truly understand you. Scorpio, one of the most liberating things that can happen is when you finally accept that you weren't made to be universally loved. You were made to be deeply understood by a few specific people and completely misunderstood by most. And that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's perfect because the connections you form with those who truly understand you are deeper, more meaningful, more transformative than most people will experience in a lifetime. When you stop trying to soften your intensity to be more palatable, something magical happens. You naturally begin to attract the right people. Those who not only tolerate your depth, but who truly need it, who are nourished by it, who feel at home in the intensity you offer. And these are the people who will form your inner circle, your true spiritual family. Now I'm going to tell you something about the impact you have, something that can completely change how you see yourself. The people who truly matter in your life don't love you despite your intensity. They love you because of it. The depth you offer, the authenticity you demand, the truth you're not afraid to face, that's exactly what attracts the souls destined to walk beside you. Think about it. How many times have you had someone come to you with their deepest problems, their most difficult issues, their most closely guarded secrets? This happens because people instinctively sense that you can handle their intensity, that you won't judge them, won't try to convince them that their problems aren't so serious, won't offer superficial solutions to profound issues. They feel that you are a safe haven for their entire being, including the dark parts they are ashamed to show anyone else. This is an extraordinary gift. It's a form of healing that you offer simply by being who you are. Your willingness to go deep, to not be afraid of the darkness, to face whatever is hidden. This allows other people to do the same. You give permission, through your example, for people to stop pretending everything is okay when it's not. For them to stop hiding their own complexities, for them to be truly human with all the complications and contradictions that entails. But here's something you need to protect. Don't let that ability to sustain the emotional intensity of others turn into you becoming a dumping ground for everyone's problems. There's a difference between being a safe space for people to process their issues and being used as a receptacle for emotional outpourings. You need to learn to differentiate between people who genuinely want transformation and people who just want a place to complain without changing anything. The people who deserve your depth are those who are willing to do the work. Those who don't just talk about their problems, but take action to solve them. Those who honor your ability to hold space for them by doing their part. These are the people who truly value what you offer. The others, those who only want your energy without giving anything in return, will drain you without nourishing you back. And you need to have the courage to set boundaries with these people, even if they react badly. Are you willing to protect your extraordinary energy from being wasted on people who aren't truly committed to transformation? Scorpio, something you probably don't realize about the effect you have on people is that they often change their behaviors and patterns simply by being in your presence, even without you doing absolutely anything. Your energy acts as a silent invitation for people to raise their standards, to be more honest, to stop settling for mediocre situations, to seek more depth in their own lives. This means you have a much greater impact than you realize. Even interactions that seem casual to you can be profoundly transformative for the other person. A 5-minute conversation with you can plant a seed of transformation that will germinate for months. A comment you made in passing might be exactly the validation or challenge someone needed to hear to make a significant life change. The power you wield is real and immense. But with great power comes great responsibility. You need to be aware of the impact you have. You need to use your ability to see through people with wisdom and compassion. You need to understand that not everyone is ready for the level of truth you are willing to face. And that's okay. Your role is not to force people to transform before they are ready. Your role is to be available as a catalyst when they are. Something that will help you a lot is developing your intuition about when to share your perceptions and when to keep them to yourself. Just because you see something about a person doesn't mean they need to know you see it. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply hold the space, observe, and allow the person to reach their own conclusions at their own pace. Your presence alone is already doing the work of a catalyst. You don't need to verbalize everything you perceive. On the other hand, there are times when your brutal honesty is exactly what someone needs, where being kind would actually be cruel because the person needs to hear a difficult truth in order to move on. Learning to discern between these moments is part of your mastery as a Scorpio, and the more you practice, the better you will become at knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Now I'm going to reveal something about the people who are most intensely attracted to you. They are usually at a point in their lives where they know they need a profound transformation, but they are afraid to do it alone. They sense in you the presence of someone who has already navigated deep waters and survived, someone who is not afraid of the darkness because they have learned that it is precisely in the darkness that the greatest treasures are hidden. These people are drawn to you because they recognize in you a guide to the darker territories of the human soul. They instinctively trust that you can hold their hand as they descend into their own depths, that you won't run away when things get tough or intense, that you won't try to convince them to return to the surface before the job is done. This is an immense honor, but it's also a responsibility you need to take seriously. The people who trust you in this way are placing very vulnerable parts of themselves in your hands. You need to treat that trust with the respect it deserves. You need to be impeccable in your integrity when you're in this role of catalyst for others' transformation. And part of being flawless is also recognizing your own limitations. You are not responsible for saving anyone. You cannot do the work of transformation for another person. All you can do is create the conditions for transformation to be possible and then allow each person to do their own part. If you try to carry the weight of transformation for everyone who crosses your path, you will quickly become exhausted. Scorpio, an important truth you need to accept is that some people will blame you for the discomfort they feel in your presence. They'll say you're too intense, that you dramatize things, that you complicate what's simple. But what's really happening is that you're touching on wounds they're not ready to heal. You're illuminating dark corners they prefer to keep in the shadows. And instead of recognizing that the discomfort comes from within them, they'll project it onto you as if you were the problem. Don't internalize those projections. Don't let other people's limitations define your worth. Always remember, the fact that some people can't handle your light doesn't mean you should dim it. It just means those people are still choosing darkness, and you can't force anyone to choose the light. All you can do is keep shining and trust that those who are ready will be naturally drawn to you. Something powerful happens when you stop apologizing for your intensity and start celebrating it. You automatically raise the bar for who can enter your life. The people who demanded you be lighter, easier, simpler, naturally drift away. And in their place, people arrive who value depth, who seek truth, who are not afraid of real intimacy. Your life becomes more selective, but infinitely more fulfilling. Because the truth is, you were never meant to have a large social circle. You were meant to have a few deep and transformative connections. Quality has always been more important than quantity to you. And when you finally embrace that, you stop wasting energy trying to maintain superficial relationships that will never truly satisfy you. People around you need to know this. When you arrive, you don't come to play social games. You don't come for empty conversations about the weather or what was on TV. You come ready for real connection, for conversations that matter, for explorations of the depths of the human experience. And if that's too intense for someone, that's okay. That person simply isn't your person. Have you ever lost friendships or relationships by refusing to stay on the surface, only to later realize it was the best thing that could have happened? Scorpio, your presence in this world is necessary. On a planet that is increasingly superficial, increasingly focused on appearances and avoiding discomfort, you are a force that insists on going deeper. You refuse to accept ready-made answers. You are not afraid to question everything. You are willing to face the difficult truths that most prefer to ignore. When you enter a place, people sense all of that. They sense your refusal to participate in falsehoods. They sense your insistence on authenticity. They sense your ability to see what is hidden. And this forces them to take a position. Either they go towards the depth you offer, or they go to the opposite side, seeking the comfort of superficiality. But one way or another, they have to choose. Because in your presence, indifference is not an option. Subscribe to the channel now, because I'll continue exploring the facets of your power as a Scorpio and how you can use it in an increasingly conscious and transformative way. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any content that will help you understand and better utilize your intense and profound nature.